in the podcast you were talking about the U.S. kind of sliding toward the European way of a post-Christian culture, which is, I mean, to me, if you look around, that's pretty obvious, right? That that's where we're headed. What does the church in the U.S. need to do to get in front of that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think
not to ask a hard question.
Yeah, because I don't want to give a one-size-fits-all answer.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what a lot of churches think. Because I could just say discipleship. I could say just a bunch of things.
Well, related, I mean, I'm thinking of it in terms of where you're at now with Jim, how you are trying to evangelize a post-Christian culture.
Yeah, totally.
And you think, okay, we see where we're at. We see what we're having to do. It's all about relationships. You've got to build relationships and you got to meet people on a different level, right? Just inviting them to church doesn't work. They're not interested in church. They're probably not even interested in spiritual things at the outset. Is there a way, in the U.S., we're not quite to that point yet, I'd say, but should we be more relational? I mean, is that the answer, to engage people on a relational level more so than what we're doing?
Yeah, and this is really convicting to me as I'm saying it, but loving your neighbor. I mean, I just think we need to stop daydreaming and just love our neighbor. And I think we need to just focus on relationship, because the Lord is recently convicting me about this, because like I'm called to make disciples, but mentorship and discipleship to me are different things. Mentorship is come meet with me. Discipleship is come follow me. And so like when Paul says follow me as I follow Christ, that's a bold statement. And
very bold.
I think we need because a relationship with Christ requires sacrifice. And Christ is not just found in a church building. Like I met him in my living room, and and through his word, and we could find him in his word, and we could find him through prayer, and we could find him through connecting with other believers and through nature. But I think it has to be relational, because what I'm seeing in Gen Z and millennials now is either they're going way deeper with Christ and they're saying, I don't want the fluff of this. I don't want the fluff of Christianity. I want you to give it to me, and I want you to give it to me straight. Or they're saying, I have too many questions and I just don't really believe in it anymore, because I've seen it wreck so many people's lives. Because it has been based around numbers and this Americanized gospel of, just come. We need as many people at this event. We'll get them saved, and then they're in heaven for an eternity. And I'll never forget, man, this Dodgeball event. And I'm going somewhere with this, I swear, because this is what I've seen in the narrative across America. There was this Dodgeball event, and churches do it. It's super popular now in the fall. Churches come and host a Dodgeball event at their church, invite high school kids or whatever. This guy got up in front of these students and said, I knew a kid who followed Christ. He died and he went to heaven. Where are you going to go when you die? Pray this simple prayer, and you'll go to heaven. In a nutshell. No mention of Christ or the gospel, of breaking down what he has done for us and how this is achievable. And
or why they even need it.
Yeah, exactly. So 350 kids that night filled out a white card that said, I'm saved. And there was zero follow-up. And so it's just like, and I just think of the scripture where Jesus says, anyone who causes these little ones to go astray, it's better for them to have a noose tied around their neck and cast into the sea than what's going to happen to them. And so I'm just thinking, I don't want to be the guy that's leading people astray because of this, of just getting them to heaven. Because the truth is, heaven is great, but I need help today. I need help on this earth now. And
absolutely.
This relationship with Christ is a daily walk. It's not just a one and done thing. And I think that's what we're preaching it. Well, I say us, but I think that's just what I'm seeing in a lot of churches is, come meet Christ at church. Continue to pursue your dream or whatever you want, and don't really sacrifice much. Give me 10%, give the church 10%, and you'll be good. But also I'm on the opposite side of I think there's value to living a quiet life where you are loving your family, you're serving your family, you're making disciples, you're serving the church, and you are loving your neighbor. I think there's value in both, but that requires sacrifice too, because we need the people who say, I'm going to give up everything and I'm going to go to the nations, but we also need senders. We need people to pray. We need people to stay faithful to where the Lord has called them to. And so,
everyone, I mean, the experience you had where you felt very compelled to go to Europe, not everyone's called to that. And one thing that we're trying to do in our ministry is help people recognize, we're all called to ministry, right?
Totally.
And so we don't have to have the title of pastor or missionary.
Absolutely.
Or whatever. We're all called to ministry, and we're not all going to be full-time in ministry.
Yeah.
Right?
There's no imaginary line between the ordinary person and the minister, or like this super Christian, this missionary, and then the ordinary Christian here. Yeah.
We tend to put pastors on pedestals. We tend to think they have some, magic wand that they can wave over people or something but it's the gospel. And we all, if we've met Christ, then we should have experienced a transformational experience in our own life.
Absolutely.
That we can share with other people. And that's what people really want to know. To me, it's not, okay, having a great pastor who preaches great sermons, all that's great. It's motivating, it's convicting at times. But I think what people today want to know is, what about the church body? Mm-hmm. Are they serious about Christ? What are they doing? What does their life look like? And so we all have that responsibility. And what I don't want people to think is just because I want to follow Christ doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to be a missionary. Right? Now, some are. Totally. And some people are going to have that experience, and we're going to talk about that here at some point. But, some people should give up their record deal and give up their local job, and they should move to England, or they should move to France or Greece or wherever, and they should serve there. But at the same time, those who are not called to that need to be serving their next door neighbor.
Exactly.
Right?
Totally.
We can't, if we say I'm not going to Europe, okay, fine, go to your next door neighbor.
Yeah, go somewhere. Just do something. Just don't. Yeah, is it good news to you? Like, is it worth sharing? Because if it's not, then it's not. Like, if it's not good news to you, then that's probably not why you're sharing it. And if you're bored with your faith, you're probably not taking risks. And so I think that that's what Christ is calling us to, is doing something, like stepping out in faith and just doing something. And it's not a works-based gospel. It's just like saying, faith without works is dead. So like, we have our faith, but out of that faith, we should believe, like, if we're truly transformed, that this is good news. We should want to do something, and we should want to see the world change. Because I'm not trying to colonize. I'm not trying to get people to just believe what I believe. Like, I just want to share Christ with them, and with hope that it leads them to life change. And if that's what we're doing to our neighbor, if they reject it, then that's fine. But you could still pursue a friendship with them, or whatever the Lord wants you to do. Sometimes He doesn't want you to do that. I don't know. I don't know what the Lord is telling you to do, but I just know what the narrative of love your neighbor, make disciples. Just pursue the Great Commission across the street and around the world. Mm-hmm. I think that's the mission of the church. And the early church, it was a gathering of believers to encourage one another to go do these things. Right. It wasn't a place of come and experience God here. It was, no, let's come and encourage each other, pray for one another, edify each other, and then we'll go out and we'll be the church to our community. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I think church, unfortunately, has become an end of its own, right? I mean, it's like, I'm going to church. It's Sunday morning. I'm going to church. Mm-hmm. And it's not accomplishing what we really want it to. Yeah. Which, in times past, I have gotten a little disillusioned with that in the church myself, even though I've been in the church and I've been a pastor. I get, I'll be honest, part of why I got disillusioned as a pastor is I felt like people just wanted to come to church. They wanted to check that box. And if I preached a good sermon, that was a great sermon, but it didn't impact how they lived their life. That's not really why they were there.
Yeah.
They didn't want to hear that sermon so that they could go out and do something different next week.
Yeah.
They just wanted to feel good that day.
Yeah.
That can be a little, causes disillusion. It's like, why am I doing all this if these people are not really concerned? And I don't want to paint with a too broad a brush. I mean, there were people in the church that were really concerned and were really trying to do the right thing. But I'm speaking in broader terms, the larger percentage of the people, and totally. So I think, to me, that's what we have to change somehow in the American church,
right,
is getting people to live out the word in their own home first, then with their neighbor, in their place of work, and let it come out in all areas of their life. And that's what we're trying to do. And I think that's what you're trying to do with Jim is to do that same thing in Europe. Is the Christian setting is just different there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, man. And there are some churches that are doing it really well here in the States. Churches that are sending, churches that are making disciples, churches that are encouraging, serving their community. And I think that there is change happening. We're just not seeing it on, we're not seeing it televised, or we're not seeing it in the masses.
Right.
Because I think a lot of churches who are trying to reach Gen Z and millennials, they're trying to match the noise level of the culture. But I think true deep spirituality, I think there's a lot going on behind closed doors where people are actually, growing deeper with Christ. And I think we're going to see a movement of that. I think we're going to see way more people fall away, but way more people go in depth with Christ. So I'm encouraged by that, but also kind of terrified by that because of the formation of culture and just the shift of, people who don't follow Christ, some of the decisions that they make, the moral issues and stuff like that. But
Well, there's a little bit of a, it's a complex issue from the standpoint of you have to be careful when you're freelancing, so to speak. I mean, if everything gets too individualistic and you're not coming together as a church, you can lose the solid foundation of sound theology.
Yeah, totally.
And, those kind of things.
Iron sharpening iron, yeah.
Yeah, and so, but if you run too far to that, then you lose that individual connection, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a balance to be struck there, and it really should be, I think, kind of the New Testament model, but...